everybody, and welcome to the Wealthy LaLa Show with myself, Laurie Laursen. Today is episode 164-2. How are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good. It's overcast today, and yeah, that's okay. You know what I wanted to talk about today? I wanted to talk about do you have things talk to you? Like, do you realize that things talk to you? Do you have things talk to you? And have you had experiences like that in your life where, for me, it's like the universe having my back. Um, in the last couple days, I had mentioned how I had a cousin stay over this past week, and her and I, through our different conversations, which were really fun and engaging and interesting, we or I have a book that Change Me Prayers by Tasha Silver. It was sitting on my desk here, and I had looked at it and read a couple things from it, like from the weeks before, a couple weeks before on my show here. So it was just sitting here, and it was like, I'd like to go to Rosemary's, or I'd like to go to my cousin. I'd like to go to your cousin. Oh, God. Hello. um, and I was like, really? Oh, okay. So, truth, would you create greater if I gifted you to her? And it was like, yeah. But like part of me was kind of like, well, really? But I like you. It was just like, well, whatever, Laurie, order another one. I was like, okay, so I will. So anyways, and it's the same thing. Like, have you ever gone somewhere and there's a shirt that you like, or a dress, or a sweater, or a pair of pants, or shoes, or something like that? You've gone shopping, or it could be a lawn chair, it could be a couch, like anything like that. You go shopping and you see it and you really like it, and you go home without it. And it keeps popping into your head. It keeps popping, keeps popping, keeps popping. Well, in my world, that's when something is talking to me, and it may or may not want me to own it. But I want to, but it's giving me some information to ask some questions around. So just like with the book to gift to my cousin, um so funny, that yawning thing. I just get such a kick out of it. So anyways, like with the book for my cousin, it was like there was just an energy to it. It got kind of loud, and it just said, hey, I would like to be gifted to her. And the difference being too is it's a thought that pops into your head that you didn't think yourself. Like, it popped into your head, but it almost like, but it wasn't like necessarily our thought. It came from wherever it came from. And so can you guys like think of examples like that? And even like last week when I was shopping on the Tuesday, and my company was coming Wednesday. And as I was shopping, it was like, get this. Okay. And get that. All right. And I'm looking at this and I'm aware this is actually a lot of food. I was aware that 12 nectarines would be a lot just for my hubby and I, because I don't eat very much fruit. My body, I often get a headache from it. And which is a whole other interesting, well, I don't know, you might not find it interesting, but I find it interesting that my body isn't really a fan of fruit. I actually get headaches from it. So interesting. So anyways, I bought fruit, which my hubby and my cousin and my grandsons ended up loving. Um, like I just, and the bread that I mentioned last week that I ended up having people over for lunch, and then made grilled, meat and cheese sandwiches to go with some homemade soup. Like, just, things talk to me. And even when I was planning that lunch last week, it was like, well, what am I going to make for lunch? And in that moment, I couldn't think of anything. So I sort of surrendered to the universe, what would be possible. And then when I moved into the surrender and allowed there to be a question or space in my world, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you've got all this frozen soup downstairs. I had borscht and I had butternut squash soup. Well, my company was thrilled to have borscht because they don't get it very often. So, and that ended up being fun for me. So, like you can walk into a store and a journal will talk to you. You can walk into, heck, I mean, how many of us, I don't know if you guys are like this. You got to ask if it's actually going to create greater sometimes if you actually want it. Because almost every store that I walk into that has chocolate, I'm like, oh, I think that's talking to me. Oh, yeah. If I actually bought all the chocolate that I believe talks to me when I go into a store, or my head thinks it talks to me, my head wants it to talk to me. Uh, Anyways, yeah, because I do have a tendency to have a little bit too much stuff like that. Not an excessive amount, but enough, like more than enough anyway. So it makes it really fun. Another, and like, I've been talking about how I signed up for Corey Michelle's 30-day limitless challenge thing, journal prompts. Um, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that looks kind of interesting," but it had a different energy to it because she did another program like that just a few months ago that was about money, and that one didn't talk to me at all. Like it wasn't. If anything, I was like, "Are you sure? Is it not going to create greater?" And I kept getting heavy, so I'd ask questions around it. So easily our head can get in the way on either side, choosing something or not choosing something, whatever side is going to create greater. But in this particular instance, when I saw the advertisement for this on Facebook, I was like, oh, wow. And there was a really light energy to it. And then I went to, well, it costs this much money. Um, is that something, is it going to create greater for me to choose that right now? And then what I did is I kind of just forgot about it. And then I found it kept talking to me. So it's like the universe has our back and will let us know. We don't always get a one chance and you can never do something ever again. There may be times like that, but I don't think that they're very often. And so I ended up signing up for that class. And I mean, it's been a week now already, and it is just like it's creating so much greater for me. And that's when I noticed, like, even like the house coat story I mentioned to you guys, that the house coat kept talking to me. Like it was really, really loud. Not only that, it didn't even need to just talk to me because just wearing it alone, I wanted to wear it out. I think a white house coat, with some nice bling on it and some nice shoes. Hey, I don't see why I couldn't wear that anywhere. Don't you think? Yeah. And even like with this radio show, I'll ask the universe to show me, what are different topics that I can talk about. And I'll have articles that will pop and talk to me, books that I'm reading, articles, or like those change me prayers, just different things like that. And even while I'm doing the actual show, I may have something pop halfway through and it'll be like, oh, pull an extra card or something like that. And that's even what I do too with the decks of cards. I've got, I don't know how many, maybe 30. I'm not sure if I have that many, but yeah, I guess I do. I have a lot. And I'll just, like, one will just stand out. Now, the key thing is that knowing to look for that, because you probably likely have a lot of things that talk to you in your life. And if you're not used to it, you're not used to receiving that, not knowing that that's even a possibility that things talk to you. If you hear this from me now, you might look back now and go, oh my God, well, that's why that popped, or that's why that popped, or that's why that showed up for me. Um, well, but life in the universe will have your back with things like that and show you. And yeah. So how does it get any better? It really does. Like I'm learning more and more that I don't have to do this all by myself. I don't have to figure out life all by myself. I don't have to organize things all by myself. I don't have to plan menus even all by myself. Like the universe will just support me and me walking through a store and it'll be like, buy me. And I'll be like, really? And I'll go to walk away and I get almost energetically pulled back, like that loaf of bread, which was so fun. It was a funny story about that bread. It was a dark, um, whole wheat bread that had molasses in it. So it looked, so it was a really like a richer bread and it had flax seeds all over it. I can't remember if it had flax seeds in it or not, but it was coated, the outside was coated in flax seeds. I found those frickin' seeds everywhere. Like I'm telling you, it was so funny. They were under the table. They were all over our kitchen, the counters, the stove. Oh, they were on my dish drying rack. I was like, well, I'm not really sure what would be the actual point of putting flax seeds on a bread like that when they don't actually stay on very well. But maybe for the 500 that they put on, the 10 you actually eat, um, create some awesome health benefits. They did actually really taste good, so that was funny. Yeah. Um, and even going like, so, look around your life and see, like, do you have things talk to you? Or even, if you're not sure or you've had just even that one time, like I remember years ago before I was aware of this kind of thing, I would, you know, I would see a dress in the store and then I would go home and I'd be like, oh, I keep thinking about that dress. I keep thinking about that dress. And, because it wasn't a time where I was trusting my intuition or that the universe would have my back or would have information for me, I would just, I would then either choose to go get it or I wouldn't choose to go get it. But I was puzzled by it. Whereas now I know it's like, oh, that's actually something for me. So I wonder what that is. Like, truth, does that dress desire to come home with me? And sometimes, and not to really like confuse the issue, but what I also want to add in there is sometimes, like there was earlier this year, I actually bought a purse. Actually, what I would do, I'd walked past this purse and I was like, oh my God, the purse was just like, it seemed like it was so beautiful to me. Well, I couldn't decide between the two colors. So I actually went home, and what I ended up doing was I actually bought one of each color, got them sent to my house, and somehow I came across the information that you have 100 days to return it. Well, I didn't think anything of it, but I just kind of went, okay, well, I wonder which purse I'd like to have. So I kept one of them and I returned the other because I definitely, in this particular case, I didn't need two that looked the same. Um, um, Well, then the next thing you know, I've got that purse in my closet and I haven't used it yet. The tags are still on it and it keeps talking to me. But the talking to me this time was, um it was different. It was in the way of like, I think you should still take me back. And it's like, really? Well, but I really liked you when I saw you. It seemed like it was really, really, something that I wanted. So of course, this was a decision in my mind that it meant that if the purse was talking to me, that I had to keep the purse. Well, the short version then becomes where all of a sudden one day I just asked the purse and I was willing to trust myself because I'd kind of got into a bit of doubt around it. And I just went, you know what? Okay, so truth, purse, do you desire to be taken back? Will you create greater for me to, keep you? And I got no. Like I got yes to taking it back, no to for it to contribute to me. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. So I happened to have that. I still had the receipt, and it was still within the 100 days. So I went to the store and I took it back. And I said, well, I'm just going to look around and see if there's something. Well, I ended up coming out of there with a pair of shorts that are so comfy and two beautiful summer blousy kind of tops. One this beautiful yellow and another one coral color with some flowers on it. And I walked out of there and I was like, oh my God, like I not had that purse to return, I very unlikely would have went into the store. So it was like the purse wanted me to buy it just to keep it for a future possibility. And this might sound really, really weird, but this isn't the first time now that this has happened to me, where I'll buy something and then in returning it, so I think I was wrong in buying it, but I actually wasn't. It was the universe going, here, buy this, hold on to it, and we got something greater for you when you take it back. And the universe can is aware of our future and what we're going to choose and stuff like that, or what we like and what's going to be available. And so how does it get any better? So play with this, see if in your life you have things talk to you, and if not, ask them to talk, be willing to hear, and yeah, and just play with it. So anyways, thanks again so much for listening. That was a really fun day of acknowledging things that I've allowed to talk to me, and also how much more I allow that to happen, like pretty much every day now. So, yay! All right, big hugs to you guys. Thanks for listening.